Just as knowledge, skills and competencies evolve in the digital world, so what does it mean to be digitally literate? On the heels of the 2017 International Literacy Day in Lagos, officials of the State Ministry of Education embarked on a campaign to primary and secondary schools to promote digital learning.
In any situation, in any circumstance,
literacy basically is the ability to read and write. Being a key component of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, literacy is targeted at ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. According to the United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization, at least 750 million adults still cannot read and write, despite efforts by organizations and governments towards advancing the vision of a literate world. About 35 million adults in Nigeria, representing 13% of the population, fall in that category. In Lagos alone, 13% of its population, about 3 million people, are not educated and have no access to formal education.
We read our comprehension books.
To mark this year's Literacy Day, officials of the Lagos State Office of Education Quality Assurance have been visiting schools to raise the awareness on digital education, as is the case in the private school. The idea is to encourage students to read more and get engaged in academic exercises using appropriate digital technologies available to them.
Parents have come and Madam Usman Adlov is the Chief Inspector of Education.
Next, the officials visit public primary schools in Agege, where pupils are lectured on digital literacy.
We can't continue to live in history, in the past, but we have to move on with the pace. Just like as I'm holding a tab here, if I want to read 99 pages, I don't have to carry paper. That is up to 99 pages. With just this tab, I'll be able to read everything I need to read. So digital literacy in this time and age is very, very important. This is not only for students. Our teachers also should learn through the digital means so that you can pass it across to our students. It's also very, very important.
That Monday morning, Aisha woke up early and got ready.
While pupils are put through the use of e-learning tablets provided by the state government, they are also allowed to demonstrate their understanding of it by exploring and reading stories from them.
His thought was to motivate the boy and not to intimidate him. He hoped his son's effort would be crowned. The Monday morning came. Bayo was the first person to wake in the family. He had slept at about 11 o'clock in the night.
Olden days, we have no phone. We write on paper, learning and writing on paper. And if you want to write message, we write it on paper and go to post office. But nowadays, we use phone. If you want to read, we search for Google. It's easy for us and it's important.
Although it might be expensive, digital learning exposes students to more knowledge. Child development experts believe it can become a standard of education in Nigeria if adequately funded.
I believe that we have enough resources in this country to make literacy, digital literacy affordable and available to all the students. But if our leaders can actually do what I feel it is right, I think all these things are not too costly to be achieved. Like today, when I saw the kids holding iPads and to read, I feel compelled that maybe even our organization can start by donating maybe 1,000 or 2,000 to kids.
For this particular district, we have they actually have the iPads in at least 5 of our schools. And with that, for each school that has 50-50, they can rotate it around. They're promoting because children are excited. I mean, from what we saw today, you will see that children are actually excited. It's not about the book only. They must be able to actually use the modern things because we're in digital time. We're in the 21st century where children of this particular time are very, very digital. And so we've got to speak their language. So we haven't got enough, but at the same time, you will see that government is trying to have actually given it to 5 schools. So government is trying to roll it out at different stages. And that's something that we're working on in Lagos State.
Since 2015, the officials of the Office of Lagos State Education Quality Assurance have been visiting schools to raise the profile of reading amongst children.
We've visited some schools where children are writing really well, and it's because they are well grounded in raising the profile of reading. Also, we visited schools where, when we look at the exercise books of the children, in the writing, the essay, the composition that they are writing, it's nothing to write home about. And that's because they're not given the opportunity to actually read well, to have a vast knowledge. Because education has moved away from where a teacher just stands in front of the school, of the class, and teach children what to do. We've got to do guided reading in our schools. We've got to do proper spellings in our schools. We've got to do a lot of comprehension lessons in our schools. We've got to do writing. There are so many things that we have to, because literacy is like when you are cooking stew. You cannot just be cutting onion alone, because if you cut onion and you put it in the pot, you are not likely to get the best stew that you are looking for, the best soup. But everything has got to be present, so you need a bit of everything. And that's why the heart of literacy, the heart of English language is for children to actually become good readers. And that's something we're promoting in Lagos State.
Accordingly, early exposure of pupils to digital learning could help reduce the literacy gap ahead of the 2013 United Nations Agenda for Sustainable Development on Education.